part of Huber Syndrome for the Horde. Down with the Alliance scum. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. If you're Alliance, the X button is in the top right. See you later. My fellow Hoarders, how we doing today? Also, if you're Pandarian, can't trust you. You're playing both sides, so the X button is right up there as well. Today we're talking about Legion, World of Warcraft's new expansion. We got a lot to say. Let's get into it. So World of Warcraft Legion just came out, and I have logged too many hours into this game. Every other game has laid to the wayside, except the For Honor Alpha, which is my goatee so far. It's time for some context. Kyle Bossman, you'll be pleased. I know you don't watch my show, but it's fine. You'll hear about it, I'm sure. Warlords of Draenor and Mists of Pandaria came out before Legion, before this expansion. And, you know, a lot of people say Cataclysm was the beginning of the end because Wrath of the Lich King was the high point. You know, it was all uphill. Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. Cataclysm took a little bit of a dip, even though I love Cataclysm. But then Mists and Warlords came out, and the game took a dive, nosedive. Subscribers fell off. Still wildly popular and successful by any video game standards, but by World of Warcraft, for all intents and purposes, the golden age was over. So when Legion gets announced, you know, I'm living off that. I'm living that Warlords lifestyle where I'm just like, do I really want to get back into it, you know? But then I got Brad elbowing me on the shoulder, and he's saying, yeah, we'll get back into it, of course. And obviously, because I want to be a part of World of Warcraft. You know, it is a huge part of my life. I know it's really easy to point fingers at the game and make fun of it, and South Park and all this, and it's 12 years old, and of course it doesn't look as good as modern games, but I have committed so much to this game, and I'm committed now to be at the launch of every single expansion of this game, no matter what, no matter where I am. 20 years from now, 50 years from now, if World of Warcraft is still going, I hope it isn't, by the way, but if it is, old man Huber is gonna go down and pick up a new copy of it and boot it up. My back hurts, but I will be at every launch. Why, do you ask? Why are you so committed to this game? Because I'm looking ahead. I'm looking to the end of World of Warcraft. I'm looking to the finale. You know, I think about when Star Wars Galaxies went offline and the celebration and everyone kind of hanging out together. Can you even imagine right now how this game is going to end? What it's going to be like? Some massive world event in the middle, every man for themselves, or if it is, finally, Horde versus Alliance, one big bloodbath, permadeath. If you die, you get kicked out of the game, that's it. Servers are offline. Cannot wait, fully committed. Sorry, a little off topic there, but that's where I'm coming from. Again, a little context into World of Warcraft. Now here we are with Legion, and oh boy, am I hooked again. They've done it! They've revitalized World of Warcraft. How? How? I don't even understand. Let's just talk about some of the things. First and foremost, are the class halls. The class halls, it is a separate location for your class that gives out missions, unique missions for the class. It has its own story. And it's just a special place that you get to go and kind of manage your troops and all this. And I love it because they're speaking brilliantly and beautifully to each player directly. They're saying, hey, warrior, Huber, do you like Vikings? Do you like Valhalla? Well, guess what? That's what your story's gonna be about. Hey, rogue, do you like sneaking into places and stealing things and poisoning people and backstabbing people? You're gonna get to do that. Hey, druids, do you like nature? Your class hall is gonna be the best in the freaking game, hanging out in the trees, just chilling. So that right there is beautiful, the class halls. And again, I was afraid because the garrisons in Warlords of Draenor just felt impersonal. They didn't feel good. I felt isolated. But now going to your class hall and seeing fellow warriors There's a bond, and I love that. Next up, while we're on the topic of story, the story is good again. Warlords had some Shrek 4 garbage, alternate realities, time warping, dimensional rifts, who the hell knows? Nothing felt important at all, and they were just jamming everything down your throat, like remember this person, remember this person. Now again, Legion, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the class halls. Illidan's back? I'm afraid of this. Why? Enough Illidan. The beauty of it is that each zone has kind of its own self-contained story that's part of a bigger story, and it takes a while to get there. You gotta peel back the layers. Nothing feels forced, nothing feels like it's being jammed down your throat, and all the stories, except for like Suramar's kind of a drag, but all the other zones, the stories were great. And just putting all these alliances, oh, I said alliance, gross. Putting all these people together to form a team is very cool. Blizzard has found a way to make exploration meaningful again. Yay, Blizzard, I love you. Flying mounts were the death of World of Warcraft for me. I know Burning Crusade, Lich King had them, they're the best in the biz. But flying mounts, it makes the whole game robotic and automatic and crunching the numbers and just going on autopilot basically, not literally, but just flying here, doing this, flying there. Being on the ground, being grounded makes me care about my surroundings. It makes world PvP a thing again. If I see any Alliance scum, I'm charging in, even if they're a higher level than me. It just makes everything more intimate. And relating to the artifact weapon, it makes exploration meaningful. Finding these rare mobs, finding random caves in a side of a cliff, and going in there and being rewarded with artifact power. Raising your level with the special weapon it feels good, it feels meaningful. Exploration, Legion, nailing it. Next up is PvP. Briefly, I'll talk about this. I was worried because the PvE is so strong in Legion that PvP was gonna get the shaft. Your gear doesn't matter for PvP. You get a little bit of bonuses here and there, and there's the honor PvP talents. But you know, I like that you have to level up your honor to just get these talents, which kind of add a little bit of customization. It's not all about the gear. It makes everything feel more fair, and it just made me less stressed, basically, because back in the day, you had to go for a separate set of gear. You had to grind your honor, grind your conquest points, get separate PvP gear in addition to your PvE gear. So now, just being able to focus on the story, on questing and dungeons, and then just carrying that over into PvP, it just makes it mesh better. It feels less separate, whereas now it's PvP is kind of supplementing the main game. To wrap it up, it just feels like there's so much to do in WoW now, and it's all meaningful. Cooking and fishing, and your professions have their own quest lines, which is crazy to me. I'm a sucker for all that. I have major OCD. Just doing the archaeology quests is so fun. You can like put your things on display in the museum. There's the PvP honor you have to grind out, which is a pleasure. I'm a PvPer. I mean, that's my bread and butter. And then, you know, your class hall, leveling all that up. World quests, grouping up with people in the world, taking on giant unstoppable monsters. That's a blast. There's dungeons, raids. Just World of Warcraft is back with a vengeance, and it feels good. It feels fresh and new again. And the fact that 7.1, the patch and the raid, is already on the horizon is a really good sign that things aren't gonna slow down like they did in Warlords of Draenor. Content just stopped. Blizzard knows now. You gotta keep cranking it out, because never underestimate the power of people like Bradley Ellis that just grind it out so fast. Their level cap in a day. They've maxed out everything in 2 days. psychotic behavior, Blizzard. You should know above all else, people grind your games into the ground. That's it for the show. It feels good to be back in World of Warcraft. We're easy allies. If you like what you see, support us on Patreon. We're on Twitch, Twitter, all the social media, streaming every single day of the week practically. And if you want to talk further about World of Warcraft or MMOs in general, I know we'll be talking about that. Check out Talking Syndrome, 11 a.m. on Saturday. Just good vibes all around. We'll be talking about the episode and anything you want to discuss. Love and respect. See you next week.
It's time for the syndrome.
I've heard a lot about this book, and it lives up to the hype. Check it out. If you love video games, honestly, I hate saying that. If you love this, check this out. Somewhere right now, Ben Moore is screaming at me, slamming his hand down on the keyboard. Why, Huber, why? But seriously, if you love video games or books, or better yet, both, read this immediately.
It's time for the spooky syndrome.
Welcome to this special, extra spooky bonus bit at the end of Huber Syndrome. What I'm gonna do, everyone, Kyle Bossman is the guinea pig here. He's number one. I'm gonna ask every single ally for the next month, it's gonna be at the end of each episode for the month, a horror video game story that they remember, a moment in video games that has to do with horror that they love or that scared them to death. Kyle Bossman,
Not a horror fan.
The most scared person there is in the biz, cannot handle it.
Yeah.
I'm eager to know, when you think of horror, what do you think of? What is the one moment in your life that scared the living crap out of you?
So I avoided it for most of my life. I didn't play a Resident Evil game. I thought they were for big kids.
Wait, what was when did you realize that you just couldn't play them?
Oh, I didn't even approach it. If I see a zombie on the cover,
Yeah.
just like if I see a zombie in a movie poster, I've said, oh, I will simply won't see that. So the first Resident Evil game I ever played, Huber, was Resident Evil 4
Okay.
on the Wii.
Nice.
So I'm 1 year into college. No, I guess I would be 2 years into college. I'm home for Christmas break, and my buddy's over, and it's like, why don't we just get Resident Evil 4? I hear that's good. And so we played it together.
Were you
with the
nervous?
Wii
Did you try to
version.
talk him out of it?
I was nervous, but you don't want to be like a baby. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And for the most part, I was pretty okay, and we had a blast. It's a very, very fun game.
It's an action game.
I think the part I would get uneasy, Huber, is the tall ones that regen.
Yes.
And they're on Zombie Island, and you're in that, like, medical place.
Yeah.
And you have your friend next to you.
Yeah.
You're just blasting zombies, having a great time. But even then, I could feel the dread of these. I don't normally play these games.
The moment that the slow reveal of them.
Yeah.
There's like the sack, and the sack is like jiggling, and you don't know what the hell it is.
No, you know. Oh, you're gonna come to life. I know it. That's how I handle haunted houses.
Yeah.
Is you know there's something, and you're like, no, please don't, and they're like, boo, here I am, and it's like, you're still scary. And that's what those things are. It's it's gonna jump out, and it still does, and it's still scary.
Ben Moore, welcome
Hello.
to the spooky horror bonus bit.
I'm a little scared right now.
Good. You should be. It's October. It's my favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
I want to hear, Ben Moore, I know you're a big fan of horror. I want you to tell us a spine-tingling, bone-chilling story that pops into your brain that has to do with a horror video game.
Well, it's not spine tingling. It's more pathetic.
Oh.
Are you okay with pathetic?
Any kind of story that has to do with horror.
I've never actually told anyone this story.
Yes!
But I have told people the lead into this story. So with Resident Evil, I think Resident Evil has the worst spiders in any game, and I'm terrified of spiders. And so with Resident Evil Remake, and then I did it with later ones as well, I would look in guides, like I would check out the strategy guide for Resident Evil Remake from the library, I would read to where the spiders were, and I would stop playing. But I loved the game so much that I would just, I did it 7 times. I just played to that part and then stopped. Anyway, I was renting a game from Blockbuster. I used to do that all the time. It was my favorite thing. I loved renting games from Blockbuster. And I rented Resident Evil Survivor. And I'm like, oh, this is just a spin-off, and I don't have that much time to play it. Like, I had to do something over the weekend, so I'm like, I'm just gonna play the first hour. There's not gonna be any spiders in the first hour. It's gonna be fine. That game is in first person. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I think it was like within the first 15 minutes, a spider just like jumps on you in first person, and I screamed, and both my mom and my dad came down, and they're like, what is going on? And it was one of those things where I think I screamed and I shut off the PS1. I was just like, no. And so my hand is on the console, and I'm looking at this blank TV, and they're like, what are you screaming about? So that's another pathetic but more story.
That is outstanding. Yeah. Years later, when we were streaming Resident Evil 3, I was in the other room, back at the old GT office, and I heard a loud-pitched, ah! Yeah. And sure enough, it was a spider, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis.
People think that, like, I'm playing it up for effect, or I'm exaggerating or whatever. Like, you stick a tarantula in my face, that is the response you will get, for sure.